Because it doesn't matter how much courage you have, I can't do that. That's not possible, okay, unless you're, you know, disabled. Again, a scientist assassin. And so taking a risk and having the courage to take that risk, to pull that trigger, is an absolute necessity. For the past, I don't know, like 12 years, I've always been drawn to parkour. Okay, it started off when I was a little kid. I was in the computer room with all my friends and peers that were like 3-4 years older than me, and they were all watching an Assassin's Creed video. Assassin's Creed parkour, free running in real life. I remember when I saw that, it portrayed a level of freedom that it just got me hooked. I wanted to be a scientist assassin, okay? And then I found this one video about this guy. His name was Ronnie Street Stunts, I think it was. And he made a video called How to Do Parkour Like an Assassin.
So you want to learn parkour like an assassin?
However, at that time, little did I know that those tips for parkour would come to give me the foundations for a great life. It takes 3 different aspects to come together to form good parkour. What you need is, firstly, you need to find the right environment. You need to develop a vision so that you can see the possibilities that there are within a park, within just a street. You see a street lamp, I don't know, twirl around it. You see the ground, some grass, do some rolls. Okay, you need to learn how to make the most out of your environment. You need to learn how to find places, position yourself in such a way where you can do good parkour. Now the second aspect is about drills, okay? Because you can't just do parkour. Okay, you can to an extent, but you need to train. You need to do push-ups, you need to do pull-ups, muscle-ups. You need to do the safety roll. I've literally, when I was in the 4th grade, I'd like try and teach all the kids in my neighborhood how to do parkour. And the level 1 was always mastering the safety roll, because you know you had to do that before you can progress and do harder moves. But basically you need to drill the moves so that when you actually try to do parkour in, you know, scarier, harder circumstances, you know you can pull it off. And you have the skills to pull it off because you've trained, right? And the third aspect is called mind over matter, okay? You need to disassociate yourself from the current circumstances and not look at consequence, but rather look at what is possible. Can you do a broad jump 2 meters forward? Yes, you can, okay? Unless you're, you know, disabled. You should be able to do a broad jump 2 meters forward. However, scale it up to being on a building 50 meters high, and there's another building 50 meters high, which is 2 meters away. You might get a little more panicky in that circumstance, even though it's the exact same movement, that same easy movement. The change in the perceived environment affects your behavior, okay? And mind over matter is basically taking away all of the distracting elements, all of the parts that aren't true, and just focusing on what you have to do, on pushing and beating your fears. That's what it's about. It's about, there's a 5-meter drop, and you know you'll survive. And if you know you've drilled the safety roll, so you can do it without getting injured. But it's a scary drop. I used to turn to my friend and I used to be like, do you like SpongeBob? What? And I'd be like, I like SpongeBob. And I just jump off. Right there. And that mind over matter, that taking control of your fears and doing what has to be done, is a priceless tool. Now, how do these 3 components of parkour tie into real life? When it comes to success, it's not just about who you are, but it's also where you are. What opportunities are present around you. And just like how in parkour, you need to find the best environment and make the most out of any environment that is available to you, you have to position yourself in a place where your goals are more achievable. So let's say you live in a small town in Australia, okay? But you want to start a big tech company. You want to be an entrepreneur. However, you got your family, the friends you've known for a long time in your small town. Now here's the question. Is this goal worth more to you than those relationships? If it is, I'm not saying it has to be, but if it is, then it's likely that you would be better off positioning yourself in a different city. A city where tech is booming, where there's a lot of people who are interested in what you are interested in, and where opportunities will unveil themselves for you. And not only that, even if you are in your small town, you need to not use that as an excuse for not getting to where you want to go. You need to be able to make the most of the environment that is available to you. Mate, we've got the internet. Okay, you can do so much on the internet. You need to find out where on the internet you can go to meet like-minded people, where you can learn on the internet. And that is the first principle we can take from parkour. Secondly is drilling, okay? Because it doesn't matter how much courage you have or where you are, okay? Because if you don't have the skills, if you don't have the discipline, and you haven't practiced repeatedly and actually acquired a sense of competence, you won't be able to undertake any task which is meaningful. So no matter what your avenue is, whether you're a writer, you know what you have to do? You need to write, okay? You need to write every day. You need to write in such a way that if you continued writing in this way, you will arrive at the destination you planned. You need to do drills again. Third aspect we can take from parkour is mind over matter. Now this is the part that I've taken the most from parkour, because in all honesty, I'm pretty bad at parkour, okay? I know I'm talking about it here, but I can't even do a flip. I can't do a front flip or a back flip on normal ground. Okay, so I'm not very good at parkour. However, I was very infamous in my youth for, doing parkour, not because I was good at it, but because I would do the dumbest, craziest stuff. And the thing is, by doing those things over and over again, the way you limit yourself becomes apparent to you. These illusions of reality, your biases saying, I can't do that, that's not possible, they become apparent because you thought that you couldn't do it in that moment when you were afraid to jump, but you did it and it turned out fine. And so that's been a key part of me as a person. Even now, I'm in Egypt, right? It takes a certain level of courage and mind over matter to analyze something for its worth, for what it is, rather than what everybody else says it is. That's what mind over matter is. It's courage. It's the willingness to take risks. If you want to arrive at a destination which differs in location from the path you're currently on, then outside of the path you're currently on, there's uncertainty. And so taking a risk and having the courage to take that risk, to pull that trigger, is an absolute necessity. Can't be understated. And I think that's what you get from parkour, from doing parkour, from learning from the discipline of parkour, is that you learn about positioning yourself and noticing opportunities in your environment. You learn the importance of discipline and committing and learning a skill. And you also learn to have mind over matter, to have courage.